And hello, and welcome to my very first Rebooking Wrestlemania video. This is going to be kind of a series I'll do. Now, how long I keep doing it will depend on if it gets some attention or not. But I'll probably keep going for a little while. I've already got the first few pay-per-views worked out because I wanted to have some of this done ahead of time. So the basic premise here, and other people have done this, I'm not trying to claim it's an original concept, but lots of people do rebooking, but most people only ever do rebooking for individual shows, one show here, one show there, or a very set period of time like the invasion. I've done videos like that myself, and yes, I am aware I have some red marks from some heat zits, hot weather. Just, I'll try to ignore it if you will. So basically, I found one person who kind of did this, but I did not really agree with the way they did it at all. Because they went with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat instead of Hogan. That was their whole premise was, what if Vince McMahon was actually a fan of wrestling, Southern pro wrestling, and went with Ricky Steamboat. Just the idea of having him come in the company and immediately putting the world title on him, I didn't care for it. And that's one of the fun things about doing this sort of thing. It's kind of like a puzzle. But it's only a puzzle if you actually have some rules. So the first thing we need to talk about is the rules. Now, that guy's rules were basically he would only use who was on the actual cards, who was at the pay-per-view events. But what I'm going to be doing is rebooking all of the pay-per-views of WWF, now known as WWE. Although, let's be realistic here, as much as the World Wildlife Fund may not like it, when people say WWF, through a good portion of the world, you're going to think World Wrestling Federation, not World Wildlife Fund. That's just the way it is, and it will pretty much always be that way. So it was kind of always a stupid lawsuit or a stupid thing, and making them change the name was stupid, but whatever. It's been done and over for a long time now, whatever. But we're talking old school WWF here, so I'm going to start with WrestleMania 1. And you have to keep in mind what makes some of these difficult, especially the very early ones, is that there were no other pay-per-views between WrestleMania 1 and 2. They didn't start having additional pay-per-views for a couple, 3 years. So, trying to do this, I had to try to figure out basically an entire year's worth of what was going to happen between WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2 to do this the way I wanted to. And I've got up through I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, the first Royal Rumble and Survivor Series 87. That's what I've already gotten done. So if there's some interest in this, I'll keep going. Might take a little while in between because, I have to figure out what's going to happen. Because that's the exercise here. Not just booking individual cards, but actually booking the company for an extended period of time. And my rule is similar in that I'll mostly be using the people who are on the cards, but I allowed myself a bit of flexibility by doing my best to find the rosters for these time periods, who was working for the company. Because I figured if somebody was working for the company and was not injured, if they were offered a spot on a big show like a pay-per-view card, like WrestleMania 1, 2, whatever, they would be there. They're not going to say no because they're on a house show or something. If they would have been on a house show or just sitting at home, they're not going to say no to a payday, a bigger payday. So if I could find that they were working for the company still, and were not injured, I, gave myself the flexibility to have those individuals available to work on my rebooking shows. But I am sticking to a rule that we're not going to sandbox mode this. It's not a puzzle if you basically say, well, I'm going to take Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat and have them both in WWF for the first WrestleMania, and they're going to have the first of their legendary series of 3 matches, their trilogy, at WrestleMania 1, the first one. That's sandbox mode. I want this more like a mental exercise rebooking. Okay, so now that I've gotten the intro part of this over with, hopefully I won't have to repeat all of this over and over again. You get the idea. Let's get into the actual rebooking of WrestleMania 1. So the premise here is that I'm trying to book WWF/E to satisfy the fans of the superhero over-the-top characters that WWF made famous, and pro wrestling fans. That's, in our version of reality, Vince doesn't hate pro wrestling, and while he still is wanting to do something new, he wants to do the rock and roll pro wrestling connection thing with MTV and whatnot. He also wants to maintain the history. He has respect for the legacy of his father and all the other promoters from the territories. He's still a ruthless businessman asshole, and he's going to kill the territories. We're not going to rebook things that extensively. We're not going to change the company's model. We're just going to say that in this version of reality, he's going to allow for the fact that some people like their wrestling, and he's going to try to give it to them. So, I do have my cheat sheet here that I'll be referring to. So we're going to start off actually with the same match that was the first match in WrestleMania 1, but a completely different context. You see, Tito Santana went up against a guy who, in a mask, who was Playboy Buddy Rose in a mask. Now, I had to look Playboy Buddy Rose up because I wasn't familiar with him, but I found out that he was a very established heel. He's kind of a Ric Flair type character. So, Tito, big babyface. I think he's kind of bland, but he was very over with the fans. Big babyface. And Rose hadn't been around for a while, but a huge heel. This is a guy who knows how to work the crowd and piss them off. He knows how to get heat. So they put him under a mask and have him go up against Tito in a squash match, essentially. Why? I don't know why you'd want to do that. So what we're going to have happen here is we're having Playboy Buddy Rose go up against Tito Santana. Same 2 guys, massively different context here. So basically, we're still going to have Tito Santana win, but Buddy Rose is going to be going after his leg because Tito is coming back off of an injury. At that time, a leg injury, and they're going to start a feud, which will carry on through basically until Buddy Rose leaves. I think he left about 8 months later. I forget exactly. It doesn't matter. Or if he was still around, I can't remember. I'll have to look through all of my notes and stuff. But the point here is that we've got an entire year ahead of us until WrestleMania 2. So putting Tito Santana, big babyface, against somebody like Buddy Rose, who is a guy who knows how to get heat, he's a great heel, is a great opener. It's going to rile the fans up. It's going to get the crowd hot. They're going to love seeing Tito win, but then Buddy Rose is going to get his heat back by beating up on Tito and going after his leg, chop block, a figure 4 or something. And we're going to set up a feud. Very first match, we got some fire happening, hopefully. Second match on the card, Andre the Giant and Tony Atlas against Big John Studd and Don Morocco. Okay. So they actually had a match, if memory serves. It was try to, one trying to slam the other, Andre and Big John Studd. But they had been doing that for a long time. The fans had seen it. Maybe not the fans at home, but the fans in the audience. A lot of them would have seen this already. So why go back to the well when you can do something different? So we're going to have Andre the Giant and Tony Atlas, two big-time baby faces. The fans love them, against Big John Studd and Don Morocco. Big John Studd kind of back and forth as far as being heel face. Don Morocco definitely a heel. And basically, we can cover up for Andre's physical difficulties, which he's definitely starting to show already at this time. Big John Studd, kind of limited. But you got Atlas and Morocco who can fill things in. So you have a solid tag match, and we give Andre and Tony the win. It's not a huge deal. It's probably not going to last very long. But it's something that should give the fans something to enjoy. Next, we've got the WWF Intercontinental Championship. At this time, it's Greg Valentine. We're putting it up against Ricky Steamboat, because Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was one of the greatest of all time. He was a monster babyface. He just had that clean-cut, everyman quality to him, family man quality. That, parents could get behind, and the kids liked him because he was, did kind of the martial arts stuff, and he was kind of flashy and fast and exciting. Everybody liked that about him, not just the kids. So, again, we've got an entire year to set up here. So basically what I want to have happen is to set up another feud with this match. We're bringing in Ricky. We've had some developmental matches with him leading up to this, letting people see him on TV. But we're not going to have him win. Again, when at WrestleMania 1, Ricky had just come into the company. We're talking a few weeks here, I think. He had not been there very long. So we're going to have Greg Valentine win by DQ, or retain by DQ. He's going to lose. Steamboat's going to be very pissed off. And they're going to have, we're going to set up a series of matches that's going to lead to, instead of Tito Santana winning the belt in July, we're going to put it on Ricky. And then there was also a thing going on. Valentine, someone destroyed the old IC belt, and to bring in a new one, Valentine's going to do that. And in July, I have here in my notes, July, there's going to be a cage match between Ricky Steamboat and Greg Valentine, and Steamboat's going to win the title in July and move forward as the IC champion. Okay, now we've got Junkyard Dog and Special Delivery Jones up against Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. Okay, I had to look these two guys up because Special Delivery Jones had a horrible match on the actual WrestleMania, but I looked him up, and he was actually a very solid worker, but he was a tag team guy. He wasn't really a singles guy. He did most of his career he worked most of his career as a tag team specialist. So I thought, okay, there was part of the problem. He was also getting a bit older at this point, another part of the problem. But we can make up for that by putting him in there in a tag team match. Who are we going to have him with? Well, if I remember correctly, he's a black guy. Junkyard Dog, also black. Incredibly popular, incredibly over with the fans. So we're going to have these two, proud black Americans, representing, going up against these horrible villain Russians. Instead of it always having to be the white guys going up against the Russians, we'll have it be the black guys and let them represent them, black people, their country. It's a classic. How could you go wrong? Let everybody have some fun. Let everybody get some time to shine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're actually heavily kind of putting villains over on this card because we want to keep people coming back for more. And unfortunately, WrestleMania was not as huge a show as people would like to think it is if they've never seen it. It was actually a really crappy show. But it did have a big impact. And it made its money. It made the money that it needed to keep WWF and Vince McMahon afloat. And even make profit. But this is kind of a filler match. But we're putting Special Delivery Jones, who is a tag team guy, in a better spot, a more useful spot. But we're going to let the villains go over and beat up the faces and maybe set something up for the rest of the year. I don't think Special Delivery Jones stayed with WWF very long. I'm pretty sure he was gone well before WrestleMania 2. But having Junkyard Dog and Special Delivery Jones as a tag team for a few months, having a feud with the Russians, I think could be money. There could be some money there. Next, we've got King Kong Bundy going up against David Sammartino with Bruno Sammartino. Now, again, it's been a little while since I put all these together. If I'm remembering correctly, Bundy had only been getting developmental matches up to this point. And he was in a match against somebody and squashed them in just a few seconds, if I remember correctly. But it was against some no-name. I'm trying to remember. Let me look it up over here. I should have done this right from the start and had the actual card so I could reference it. That was stupid. WrestleMania. First one. Yes, one event. Prelim. Just show me the damn card. Thank you. King Kong Bundy. Right, Special Delivery Jones was the guy who Bundy beat in moments. That's right. I was trying to remember who did what, where. And Junkyard Dog went up against Greg Valentine and beat him by count out, so Valentine retains. So what we're going to do is, let's see. Yeah, the Executioner. Buddy Rose was the Executioner. Matt Bourne was on there. And it was Brutus Beefcake up against David Sammartino. Double DQ. So basically what I want to have happen here is that King Kong Bundy is being set up as this absolute monster. He's a troll, an ogre, a beast. What does it mean for him to beat somebody that most people have never heard of? Special Delivery Jones, who the hell is that? Some territory tag team guy? Doesn't mean anything to beat him. That's why I wanted to give him a chance to shine on the card and do what he did best. Do what you do best. But David Sammartino, who we'll never know if he could have had a career or not, but Bruno's son. If you're going to have your up-and-coming ogre beast defeat somebody and just annihilate them in moments, who better than the son of the legendary Bruno Sammartino? And then, of course, he smashes the kid in moments, and what's going to happen? Bruno's going to come in the ring because, his son's getting beat up. Bundy's going to go after the kid and keep hurting him. So Bruno's going to come in and try to rescue his son, and Bundy is just going to smash Bruno. Would he have actually agreed to do it? I don't know. He might have seen it as shitting on his legend. But for the sake of this alternate reality rebooking, he agrees to do it. The legend, the man himself, Bruno Sammartino, brutalized by this beastly troll ogre man. Bundy gets nuclear fucking heat. That is how you do some rebooking right there, in my opinion. Can you argue it? Would that not have made Bundy the biggest monster going through the next year to WrestleMania 2 ever? Yes, it would have. Maybe the younger crowd wouldn't have known Bruno as well, but there would have been plenty of people who would have known who Bruno was, and Bundy beating the crap out of him and beating his son in a few seconds. Nuclear heat, I tell you, no lie. I really think it would have been just insane. Alright, so then we're going Wendy Richter versus Leilani Kai, which was the actual match. And there's nobody else for me to put them up against. I didn't want to take the match off the card because it was a big deal. You know, the whole Cyndi Lauper tie-in, all that stuff. Can't just take that off the card. And in the actual match, let's see here. Yeah, Richter defeated Leilani Kai. I'm trying to figure out exactly if I even changed anything. Basically, it's the same thing, only I'm not sure exactly what they did. I have it as you put the belt on Leilani Kai before the MTV shows, and then leading up to WrestleMania, she keeps retaining the belt by cheating. They're going to have some matches against each other, and she's just going to keep cheating, and Moolah's going to help her retain the belt, either getting DQ'd or cheating. So at WrestleMania, Leilani Kai's going to get her comeuppance. Richter is going to beat her, and we're going to go ahead and let Cyndi Lauper get a shot in on Moolah when she tries to cheat again. Alrighty. Let's see here. So the next one is going to be a tag team that I invented for this. I think I invented it, or maybe I started it a bit early. See, I wrote all this stuff a while back, and I'm having trouble remembering exactly what I came up with, the kind of original stuff, and what I just did. Some of the things I might be doing a little early, or under a different name, maybe. I think I came up with the Hollywood Hunks. Was that a real team? I think I came up with that. But it's Brutus Beefcake and Adrian Adonis. Because Brutus Beefcake, his whole thing was supposed to be like a male stripper at that point. He hadn't started doing the barber thing. And Adrian Adonis is this weird guy that dresses like a woman and has weird garish makeup and all this stuff. But I don't think he had put on it as much weight at this point. So basically, we're going to have these two guys coming out, and they're trying to do we're God's gift to women, and, you know, we're the greatest guys, we're the Hollywood hunks sort of thing. And we've also got the U.S. Express. They went up against the Russians in the original lineup, but we're going to put them up against the Hollywood Hunks. So you've got Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, who would later go on to be IRS. They're both kind of rookies at this point. They're still kind of green, but they're very, very talented. And you've got a pro and Adrian Adonis to lead things. Beefcake is very limited, but he can follow somebody's lead. So basically, we're going to have Adonis kind of take the lead in the match. The heel, traditional tag team wrestling, the heels are going to isolate one of them, probably Wyndham. Beat them up. They're hot tag, fire, 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 back and forth, and the baby faces are going to get the win. Mostly because up until this point, we've had a lot of the heels, the bad guys, winning. Actually just straight up winning or getting DQ and retaining the title or something like that. So we let the babyface and Richter and then the U.S. Express are going to go ahead and get their wins to, try to give the crowd something to be happy about. Because going into the next match, we've got, let's see, he was not on the original card, I do not believe. No. But he was working for them, and he could have been there as far as I know. He wasn't injured. Jimmy Snuka against Paul Orndorff. Because I wanted to set some things up differently. I didn't want a tag team match for the main event. So, Paul Orndorff, heel, Snuka, huge babyface. And they've been having a feud. It was Orndorff, Piper, Snuka, and the Tonga Kid. They'd all been feuding for quite a while up to this point. But Snuka against Orndorff, this is a filler match. So my idea here, because I didn't want the tag team match for the main event, I wanted it to be something that the fans could really latch on to in a way. So what I want them to do, or what I would want them to do in this, very tight, energetic match. The problem is that Snuka is actually leaving not long after WrestleMania 1. So it wouldn't make sense for him to win, or, no BS finishes. Snuka's leaving, Orndorff is going to win, and he's going to get over, he's going to win and strong. But to set up some other stuff, Orndorff is going to get a kayfabe, storyline stinger. He's going to go out on a stretcher. He's going to win, but he's going to be hurt in the process. So he's not going to be able to be out there for the main event to back up Piper. The main event is that instead of Hogan being the world champ, we're going to create a U.S. Heavyweight Championship title, or bring it back, actually, and that's going to be Hogan's title. This way he always has a belt, because he's a prima donna and always has to have a belt. And the sell on this is that he's the All-American. The real American. So he's going to be the U.S. Heavyweight Champion. Not just the WWF World Heavyweight Champion. I don't need the world, brother. I just need the USA and my Hulkamaniacs. It's not that hard to sell, I don't think. At least in this alternate reality rebooking. So the belt is brought back or created for him. He's still feuding with Piper. And we are going to alter Hulk Hogan a little bit, because one of my biggest issues with Hogan is that he got himself over by screwing other people. Just when he hulks up is what I address in my notes here. Instead of screwing guys over by hulking up after their finisher, he's only gonna hulk up when they get disrespectful or too cocky. You know, we're not going to take the Hulk up away from him. We're just going to alter how he did it so that it doesn't kill every single person he gets in the ring with. Because that's really what it did. I mean, he would take their finisher and then kick out like it was nothing, Hulk up, and beat him. Punch, 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 boot to the face, leg drop, it's over. After taking their finisher. Okay? He's going to win his matches. He's not ever going to take somebody's finisher and still win. In this version of reality, WWF will actually protect people's finishing moves. Because what the hell is the point of a finisher if people endlessly kick out of it? Now, as a fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling and JPW, you might, and if you're aware of that, you might say, well, they kick out of each other's finishers all the time there. Not really. If you really pay attention during the matches, if somebody hits their finisher clean, nobody kicks out. And there's some of them, even if they don't hit it clean, they still never kick out. It's only when they hit improvised or half or partial versions of the finisher that somebody will kick out. Very, very, very rarely does somebody kick out of a finisher when it's hit clean. Sometimes it happens during big matches, but even then, not usually. So it's a slight alteration to Hulk, just to keep people alive after he's beat them. Not completely kill them and their moves and everything else. Make him a little bit less of a something, so and so. So, Hogan is the U.S. Heavyweight Champion, and we've altered some of his behaviors so that he's less destructive towards other people's careers, versus Roddy Piper, who we have put the WWF World Heavyweight Championship belt on. Why in the hell would I want to put it on Piper? Because he was one of the best heels of all time. He knew how to piss off the audience. He was a good enough worker to work with anybody. And if he respected you, he would have no problem putting you over. As long as he felt like it was the right thing to do, which is understandable. He was just that damn good. He was that good on the mic. He was good enough in the ring. And I'm kind of going with more of a babyface chasing the heel dynamic for this, at least to start with. But this is champion versus champion in a non-title match. This is all about the feud, all about the MTV crossover, the issues between them, and everything that's been going on. Just Hogan with Mr. T against Roddy Piper with Bob Orton, who actually did have a broken arm, so he couldn't be part of the show other than in a supporting role. It's a grudge match. No titles on the line. There's going to be plenty of shenanigans from the heels. And Hogan's going to win. 1, 2, 3, middle of the ring. He's going to get the win. But after the match, Mr. T and Hogan are going to get knocked the fuck out. They're going to get beat up. The heels are going to get their heat back and beat the crap out of them. After Hogan gets the win, he's going to start celebrating. Orton's going to come in and clock him with the cast and put him out. Put his lights out. He's gone down and he's staying down. Mr. T's going to try to come in to save him, but Orton and Piper are going to beat the crap out of him. And Piper, I'm sure, would come up with some very colorful things to say and do. Maybe spitting on Hogan or the belt, the U.S. belt, and throwing it down at him or something. And say, holding up the world title, I'm the real champ. I would never presume to tell Roddy Piper what to do, especially at the height of his career. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure they would come up with some good stuff that would absolutely make the crowd go insane. So the crowd's going to get their win, the babyface win, but the heels are going to then piss them off, rile them up, and make them want to come back for more, which is what the heels are supposed to do. Make you keep coming back because you want to see them get their asses kicked. That's what a heel is supposed to do. It's not about being cute, it's about making the audience want to see you get beat. That's what a heel is supposed to do. So we've got quite a bit of aftermath here, because as I said, we've got an entire year to get through till next WrestleMania, because there were no other pay-per-views in between. So we're going to have Hogan starting off feuding with Bob Orton once his arm is healed up. And then moving towards WrestleMania 2, we're going to put him against Bundy and set that feud up over the USA title. And the basic idea here is that, the world title is the big title. That's the one everybody wants. But Hogan is just this insufferable white meat babyface that somebody that's a heel, especially somebody like Bundy, heels in general, but monsters, nasty customers, are just going to look at Hogan and say, I can't stand this guy. I am going to beat the crap out of him and take that belt away from him that he loves so damn much. I'll go after the world title later, but first, I have got to do something about this insufferable prick. And his prayers, vitamins, and USA, and the Hulksters. The Hulkamaniacs. So that's going to kind of be the mantra of the heels will be pitting up against Hogan. Bundy will be having a feud against Sammartino and bring in some other WWF legends for him to feud with, kind of do a new, younger monster beating up the old-time legend sort of thing. So it's going to last a few months, and then we'll put him up against Hogan to set the feud up and move that into WrestleMania 2. Because, I didn't necessarily want to change a lot of the big matches because they made money. They made sense. They worked. This isn't necessarily an exercise in, I'm just going to rearrange things to see what happens. No. I still want to do things that make sense, and a lot of the matches that actually happened on the cards did make sense. So I'm not going to be changing everything, just changing context and the setups and what actually happens in certain matches and whatnot. Okay, so that's Hogan and Bundy set up through WrestleMania 2. Richter feuds with various Moolah managed wrestlers ongoing till WrestleMania 2. Then she leaves, and the belt goes on to one of the other few ladies in the Fed for the house shows and stuff. Because, it's hard to try to book, especially a year, WWF, early, mid-80s, for the women's wrestling, because it wasn't there all the time. They brought it in sometimes, and then it wouldn't be there for ages, and they'd bring it back. So it's kind of difficult. Okay, so U.S. Express, we're building them up as a new hot babyface tag team. They're gonna feud with the Hollywood Hunks, who we're building up as a new heel tag team. You know, so they're going to feud with different people, both of them, and each other, kind of off and on. They'll break apart, feud with other people, then come back and feud with each other, and just kind of do the rotation through the rest of the year. The next year. Problem, or at least, well, not for the entire year, yeah. Wyndham ends up wanting to leave. So we're gonna, yeah, the U.S. Express. I'm trying to keep up with my notes here. So yeah, everybody feuds with everybody else for a little while, but mostly it's the Hollywood Hunks feuding with the U.S. Express. Then Wyndham leaves. U.S. Express is going to break up. We drop the belts to the Hollywood Hunks, who hopefully we've built up as a good, hot heel team that really pisses off the audience and riles them up. The Dream Team, that was the real one. Not the Hollywood. The Dream Team was the real one. The British Bulldogs come in or were just getting started there. They weren't on the WrestleMania 1 card, so I don't remember exactly when they came in, and they feuded with the Dream Team. So basically, instead of the Dream Team, our heel team is Hollywood Hunks, and the British Bulldogs are going to feud with them instead of the Dream Team. About 3 months later, we're on to the IC belt. Steamboat's going to win the title from Valentine in a cage match, which that would be a cage match, would just be a huge barn burner. It would be the sort of thing that we'd probably do video packages for. That would be a highlight match. Valentine against Steamboat cage match, 20, 25, 30 minutes, longer match for WWF. But, these are two older, Valentine's a bit older, but they're pros. They've worked the territories, they know what they're doing. Let them have their fun and do their thing. So, Steamboat and Savage have a match at WrestleMania 3 that's legendary. But Savage had come in after WrestleMania 1, and I want to do this match between the two of them at WrestleMania 2 instead. So we're going to put the belt for the IC belt on Steamboat, and we're going to have him keep facing off against the best technical guys we can bring in. They don't even necessarily have to be strong heels. We just need to get over the fact that Ricky Steamboat is a technical master when it comes to pro wrestling. He is the pro wrestler's pro wrestler. Great baby face. Basically kind of what they did with Bret Hart later. Not necessarily to that extreme, because that was kind of making up for Bret Hart's lack of... he had charisma. He's just very dry, understated, rather than very emotive. So, something similar with Steamboat. He's already got the charisma out the wazoo and the great baby face that he was. And we just help him along a little bit by building him up as just this technical master. And we're going to build him up that way for a few months, and then Savage is going to start feuding with him for the IC belt. Tito Santana is going to feud with Buddy Rose for a while. And then Valentine, Greg the Hammer Valentine, was the one who hurt Tito in the first place. K-Fab. Not sure if he actually got hurt in a match against Valentine, but that was the story. So Tito's going to be feuding with Rose, and we're going to bring Valentine into that feud after he loses the belt. And kind of turn it into a handicap situation. And then we're going to bring Steamboat into that. So part of Steamboat's run is also going to be, to help build him up, and also easier nights. Tag team matches are easier than singles. he and Tito, Steamboat and Tito, will be up against Valentine and Buddy Rose in an ongoing feud, tag teaming, and then going up against each other back and forth. And that'll help fill out the time up until Steamboat's going to start feuding with Savage. Now, after the real WrestleMania, Orndorff was the one, I believe, who got clocked in the back of the head with the cast, and then he lost the match. In this case, and then there was a big ado, and Orndorff splits with them. They beat him up. Piper and Orton beat up Orndorff, and Orndorff turns face. So our setup is going to be a little bit more dramatic, actually, in that we've set up the idea that Paul Orndorff got injured during his match. He's the heel, but he's gotten hurt, and that's going to, most people don't really want to see somebody get hurt, even if they're a heel. Deep down, they don't. They may pretend they want to. But we've set up the fact that he's been injured. Well, the idea, the story that he's been injured. And Piper is going to berate him and, blame him for losing the big match because he wasn't out there to help him. Because he was supposed to make come out and interfere at a certain time or something. And Orndorff's injured, and then Piper and Orton are going to go ahead and beat up Orndorff like they did in real life. Only now it's an injured Orndorff. We're already increasing the sympathy level, which, hopefully will give him just a little bit even more of an edge when it comes to turning face. And we're going to have Orndorff go out for a little while, then bring him back. Piper and Orton are going to continue cheating to keep the belt on Piper against various challengers we'll bring in. And then we're going to bring back Orndorff. And then he's going to feud with Piper and Orton with Junkyard Dog as his partner. Junkyard Dog is going to... there's different ways we could set that up. I think probably the easiest and one that would make the most sense is that Junkyard Dog decided to help Orndorff make his comeback after his injury. Because we're going to have Orndorff stay at home. We'll pay him to stay at home for a good while. We don't want to take away his livelihood, so we'll pay him to just stay at home for a while and sell this whole thing that he's been seriously injured. First in the match, and then he aggravated and made a lot worse by this beating he's taken. And, on the TV shows and during the live shows, have Junkyard Dog actually bring up that he's helping Orndorff recuperate and train, and he's had a change of heart, and sell this idea of Junkyard Dog becoming friends with Orndorff and building Orndorff up as this, this unfortunate guy who got in with the wrong crowd, and he's paid for it, and he can't wait to come back and get back at him. And he's going to come back, and him and Junkyard Dog are going to tag and have singles matches and whatnot against Piper and Bob Orton. And remember I said Hogan would feud with Orton because Orton knocked him out with the cast. That's what Orton will be doing leading up to the Orndorff's return. And of course Piper will be having, maybe not feud so much as just like squash matches and traditional heel stuff. You bring in some green-ass kid and Piper squashes him and then acts like he just defeated the greatest pro wrestler that's ever lived. Cheating to win against baby faces, established, well-liked baby faces. Traditional heel stuff that just works. I'm not a fan of cheating personally. Well, I don't mind it as long as it's the guys in the ring. I don't like interference. But it worked back then, so I'm not going to ignore that. They overdid it, especially when you got to the NWO era and it was every single match. That's why I hate interference and gang attacks and stuff like that to this day. It was every damn match. The NWO, WCW, every single match. No difference, same thing every single night that I watched. That's why I don't care for a lot of the Bullet Club, the new Bullet Club stuff that they do. And I don't care much for Suzuki Gun when they start getting interference involved. And I can't stand Tai Chi because of it. If you've never watched New Japan, that doesn't matter. It's just, it is what it is. But yeah, that is my rebooking for WrestleMania 1 and the aftermath that will be leading up to WrestleMania 2. Thank you for watching. If you stuck through the whole thing, I hope you found it interesting, at the very least entertaining, perhaps. And if you want to see more, you can let me know by hitting the like button. That lets me know if you've enjoyed it. If you didn't, go ahead and hit the dislike button. But I'd appreciate it if you would say why. Also, share the video. And it actually does kind of make sense, the little bell icon, because perhaps you're subscribed to somebody, but you don't want to get notified when everybody's uploading videos. So you hit the little bell icon to know when certain people are, to get notified when certain people have been uploading videos. So if you want to get notified when I upload videos, go ahead and hit the bell. If not, please subscribe so you can see when I have uploaded something new at your leisure. And, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good, all the YouTube begging that we do. It's what you do when you do YouTube videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.